City County Planning Commission come to order, please. Ms. Martin, would you call the roll?
Sir, Commissioner Rich, Commissioner Vitale,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Coppinger,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Gay, Commissioner Warren,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Madison,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Runner, Commissioner Houston.
Yes, ma'am. Everyone should have a copy of last meeting's minutes in their packet. Are there any corrections? If not, I'll ask for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Vitale,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Coppinger, Commissioner Graham,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert, Commissioner Warren,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Madison, Chair Houston.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Houston, I request that you order the record include all statutory and regulatory provisions, the commission's entire file for each application, and the qualifications of each staff witness. Finally, I request that you administer the oath to each of those staff witnesses.
Ruth?
I do.
We have a financial report by Ms. Mooney tonight.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about our audit proposal. I've sent that proposal over to the budget commission or budget members. As you guys all know, when Drew gave us our last audit, they're no longer going to be doing audits at Gilbert and Gilbert anymore. So we were bidding that this year. In March, I sent out audit proposals to about a half a dozen local accounting firms. We got 3 responses back. One response was a no bid, and then we received 2 other responses, one from Shelton CPA and one from Hensley and Throneberry CPA. The proposals were in the budget, or actually were emailed out to the budget and committee, and Hensley and Throneberry were the cheapest of the 2. They came in at $4,800 per year for the next 5 years. It would be my recommendation to go with them. The proposals were very similar in the content of the work that they would perform, so I would recommend going with the cheaper of the 2.
What was the other bid?
The other bid was it was a do not exceed bid for $9,500. Plus a cost of living each year, where Hensley and Throneberry was $4,800 with no cost of living for the next 5 years.
How did that compare?
I believe, I'm wanting to say we were about $4,600 for our last year's audit. It was very comparable, within a few $100s. $4,760 is what they're pulling up in the audit, yeah. So it was very comparable. Does anyone have any questions on the proposal, or?
We have no questions. I'd like to
I would
ask
make
for
a motion to accept Hensley and Thornberry as our next auditor and have the Planning Commission permission to enter into a contract with them for the next 5 years.
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vitale,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance, Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Coppinger, Commissioner Graham,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert,
ma'am.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Madison, Chair Houston.
Yes, ma'am. Preliminary subdivisions and site development plans. Evidently, we don't have anything to review, so we'll move on to letters of credit and performance bonds. Does anyone have any questions on those? If there are no questions, I'll ask for a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Vitale,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance, Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Coppinger, Commissioner Graham,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert, Commissioner Warren,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Madison,
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Houston.
Yes, ma'am. Business, we'll take a look at that later, and we'll move on to the public hearings. Let me make a note that on 2019-17 ZBG, Dan Davis and Barman family has been withdrawn, so if there's anyone in the audience that is here on that hearing, it will not be heard tonight. Move on to 2019-04 Flume. Earl Cole has filed an application for future land use amendment for a tract of land containing approximately 5.16 acres located at 1237 Old Deering Road from agriculture to rural density. Are we going to look at these at one time or separately?
Currently.
Have the 2019 Z County, Earl Cole has filed an application to rezone a tract of land, approximately 5.16 acres at 1237 Old Deering Road from agriculture to RE residential estate with a general development plan. So if the first motion does pass, we can move on into the second one. Ms. Ramsey?
Thank you very much, Chair Houston. We had a pre-application conference on March 22nd for the property you see outlined here in yellow. As Chair Houston's already said, that property is zoned agriculture. Its current use is single-family residential, and in that area, it's mostly single-family residential and agriculture. And the future land use map right now is agriculture, as is everything around it. But the application tonight, the first one, is to amend that from agriculture to rural density residential. And if that is successful, then to change the zone from agriculture to RE in order to develop the property with a maximum of 3 lots, as you see here. So I'll just go through the staff report here. The proposed density of this is 0.58 dwelling units per acre. Agriculture is the original zoning of the property. Onto the compatibility with comprehensive plan on the first page there. It is up to the Planning Commission if these applications are compatible with the surrounding area. Below that, the compatibility with surrounding development, I will note that the site characteristic review notes the narrowness of portions of Old Deering Road and limitations regarding water flow and pressure. The majority of the property is heavily wooded, and there's also a large sinkhole located along the western portion of the property. I'll come back to the points to consider in just a second. We'll go on to page 2, the future land use map amendment section. Below there, you'll see LU 114 that outlines procedures for amending the future land use map. And I'll go ahead and read the narrative that the applicant supplied to address those procedures. The proposed amendment of the Flume map to rural density residential will be compatible with the surrounding land uses with several lots already zoned RE. RE will be the proposed zoning if this Flume map amendment is approved. This site is mostly wooded and is not prime farmland. Soils are such that prior to recording the plat to create the lots, maximum of 3, a site evaluation will be required by the Warren County Health Department. There are no historic or cultural features on the site. There are no area-specific policies in the comprehensive plan for this area. Even though the site does not meet the minimum fire control standards for Warren County, with only creating 3 lots, this site is exempt from the requirement. One of the proposed lots already contains an existing residence. The road width does meet the minimum width of 18 feet, with the only exception being directly in front of the existing house. At that location, the pavement is 17.8 feet, with the existing lot size of 5.16 acres, and maximum density will be 0.58 dwelling units per acre. I'll touch on a couple things in the site characteristic review. The first is the transportation infrastructure. I just want to note that the pavement width varies, which I mentioned on the first page. On to page 3, the water adequacy. There is not adequate water flow to meet the minimum fire protection requirements. However, the proposal is exempt from this requirement because less than 5 lots are proposed. Below that, I've already mentioned that the property is heavily wooded, and I've talked about the sinkhole, and the applicant does address those in the development plan conditions. This property contains a soil type that is classified as farmland of statewide importance, and the property contains soil types that are classified as somewhat limited and very limited regarding soil suitability for septic tank absorption fields. Below that, the site design and compatibility review. I've already noted the surrounding agricultural area, and that is mentioned there that there are a handful of smaller residential lots in the vicinity, but mostly large agricultural tracts. The land uses, we've already looked at that, but just wanted to note that again. Building orientation, the existing residence faces Old Deering Road, and the applicant committed that all new buildings will face the public street. So I'm going to move on to the development plan conditions, and I'll read through those real quickly that the applicant submitted. Number 1, any new lot created shall be a minimum of 1 acre. Number 2, minimum square footage shall be 1,800 for a single-story residence and 1,800 square feet on the ground level for a 1 and 1.5 or 2-story home, exclusive of garages and porches. 3, all homes will have a minimum of a 2-car garage with a maximum of 3-car. 4, building materials shall be brick, stone, fiber cement board, or vinyl. No metal or wood siding will be permitted. 5, each lot will be permitted to have 1 detached accessory structure with the facade to match the primary residence. 6, all utilities shall be underground. 7, existing vegetation shall be preserved to the greatest extent. 8, any sinkholes that develop during construction shall be repaired. 9, each new residence will be limited to a single driveway access point. Driveway placement shall be coordinated with the Warren County Public Works Road Department prior to construction. 10, each proposed lot shall have an on-site evaluation for septic tank leach field prior to a plat being recorded. 11, all residents shall be constructed to face the public street. And 12, the existing mobile home located on the property is to be removed. So we will go on to the Focus 2030 category review. I'll just note the items that that are up to your all's discretion if they comply or not. One of those is compatibility with LU 113. Also is LU 2 if the proposal is a high-quality development that will protect the character of the area. On to the next page, NCR 241. The proposal is located on a roadway with portions being less than the 18-foot minimum standard for county roads and is served by less than 250 gallons per minute of water. This body should determine whether or not the proposed lots will result in an increased amount of development pressure on the countryside. And HN21, HN4, you all should determine if the proposed development is located in a suitable location and if it will enhance the array of housing options available in the area. So I'm going to go back to page 1 and just note the points to consider. The first there is that if the Flume Amendment is approved, the proposal would be consistent with the Flume and rural density residential category. The proposed development complies with the majority of the site characteristics review criteria, with limitations regarding road width and fire protection, and the proposed general development plan complies with the majority of the review criteria for site design and compatibility and meets the minimum requirements in the zoning ordinance. So that is all I have, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, have any questions?
We within the 5-mile range to the Plano Fire Department? We know.
Actually not sure. Rachel, do you know that by any chance?
Question 4, all building materials shall be brick, stone, fiber, cement board, or vinyl. Are they committing to anything? I mean, that's wide open.
That is all we have from the applicant at this time. If, but the applicant is here, maybe they can address that further.
Is the 1,800 square foot minimum consistent with the surrounding properties?
Actually not sure of surrounding square footages of the homes. The only thing that we had noted was that that we noted the tract size, the density, which I already touched on, and we did note that the majority of the structures in the area are 1-story, but there are a couple 1.5 and 2-story structures in the area. But I don't know if we have any specific notes on square footages of the surrounding homes.
Last question. It appears that there's one residence that's already existing, so we're considering 2 more, or will that residence
The
be torn down?
existing, I'll go back to the aerial. The existing mobile home on the property, the applicant did commit in the last development plan condition to remove that, so a new, as they shown on their site plan here, it would be a new structure that would.
Western edge of the property.
They're about the 3,000 block of Plano Road, isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioners have anything else? Applicant, do you have anything to add? Name and address and swearing in. Your name
My
and
name's Perry Thesson,
address,
2107 Old Scottsville Road, Alberton.
and you swear to tell the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
Chairman, the Thesson had supplied us with a power of attorney under which Mr. Cole, who apparently is out of state, has appointed Mr. Thesson for purposes of tonight's hearing, and I have that document here, and it's available if anybody'd like to look at it.
Do you have anything to add, or do the commissioners have questions for Mr. Thesson?
I have anything to add? I don't. I mean, as far as the question about the size of the other homes in the area, they range everything from mobile homes to homes that look to be maybe 1,000 square feet to modern homes that probably 2,500, 3,000 square feet. So there's a little everything out there.
Harry, question number 4, building materials shall be brick, stone, fiber, cement, board, or vinyl. How much vinyl are you committing to?
Well, it would be left up to whoever bought the lot. I mean, they could use 100% vinyl would be what we had in mind if they so desired.
I think one of the things we're trying to look at here when we look at these is if it's all vinyl, it's all vinyl, right? Okay.
In the case of a vinyl home, would you be willing to commit to brick foundation?
Foundation?
Brick exterior on the foundation rather than,
Would a split face block be acceptable?
well, it's acceptable for all of the commissioners that are making a judgment here may find that a brick foundation would have a more favorable appearance.
What about the frontage of it being brick, stone, or fiber cement board?
Of the home?
Yes, sir.
Well, I agree that would make it a more attractive building, but I'm not sure that that it would, it would be similar to some of the homes in the area, but right down the road, there's, some that are quite a bit lesser quality. It's trying to have some lots that, are affordable for people to build on. But are we at a point where that's something we need to concede to get approved?
Not necessarily concede, but we're trying to think about the future.
some extent it speaks to compatibility as well.
So a brick foundation all the way around, or would it be necessary in the back of the home?
In my experience, a brick foundation would need to be all the way around, simply because it's a difficult transition to go
Okay.
from a split-face block to a brick ledge.
Okay, we'll agree to brick foundation.
But did you agree to take the vinyl off? Is the vinyl off the floor, or are you still talking about doing a vinyl front?
Well, prefer to have it where they could use vinyl siding from the brick foundation up.
Mr. Thesson, as I understand, your proposal is to amend Development Plan Condition 4 to add this sentence, all foundations shall have brick veneer.
Correct.
And you make that commitment under the terms of your power of attorney for Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioners, anything else? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that has a question, or is there any opposition to the zone change or future land use map change? Yes, sir. Yes, please, and we'll swear you in. Need your name, address.
Name's Darrell Cummings. I live at 1150 Old Deering Road across the street from Earl. I've lived,
Swear to tell the truth.
I do swear. I've lived there since 1994 when I built the house. It's the lot over on the left if you're looking up there. And if you look at that big bunch of trees right behind there, there's another bunch of trees, and it's a sinkhole of mine. One of my issues with this development, and it's been an issue with Warren County, and I've never approached nobody else, is the water flow coming off of that road is going into my sinkhole, and it has enlarged in 2 times to 3 times since I bought the house in 1994, where the, I don't know, where that driveway is on the middle house, if you move over a little bit, you can kind of see a different shading on grass where my neighbor mows and I mow. And just to the right of that is where a culvert road. Yes. Is this working? Well, you don't need to give me this stuff.
Here, let's see. Bring it back. Oops. Is it the? Yeah, I don't think it's reaching. There you go. Just press that button right there.
Okay. Right about here is a culvert that comes across under the road, and I'm concerned about the water that's going to come back over from that development. It's already flooding my property when there's a heavy rain. This sinkhole will be covered 2 feet or more, and then as you would imagine, a regular sink in your kitchen, you hit the plunger, it all comes down, and all of the sides on my sinkhole have been collapsing for the last 10 years or more because of the increase in water flow in that. Not all the water flow is coming from Earl's property. Some of it's from my neighbor, but I am concerned about the new development, and I would like a survey or something done to address that water flow coming across there and going down that drainage ditch and across into my sinkhole. Number one, I don't think it's very good for us to have a water flow going into a sinkhole in this area. So I would like to have that looked at as part of this development. The other part is I would like to see what was just talked about, and I appreciate you people looking out for homes in the area on a brick development on the bottom. I would prefer not to see any vinyl siding. My home is all brick. It's 2,600 square feet. I recently had an increase from the county on the value of my home. I would not like to see it go back down. I'm getting ready to retire in some years, and I'll be selling my house, and I'd like to see that value stay where it's at, if not go up more. I'm a very good friend of Earl Cole. I have nothing, and I'm sorry to hear about his health. You know, over the years since 1994, we've always been together and been very good friends. So there's no animosity here about any of this going on. I'm just looking out for my interest in the area, okay? And I guess that's about it. I just wouldn't like to see any vinyl if that's at all possible, but if that's what Earl needs to develop the property, and I know his health condition isn't very good. I didn't even know Earl was gone as of March. I have helped Earl out last year. I mowed some of his yard for him when he was sick, and I mowed it the other day when I found out from my neighbor next door that he was sick, and I don't mind doing that for Earl. Again, myself and Dennis next door, who I bought the property from, and Earl, we've all been good friends over the years, and I'll do anything I can to help Earl moving forward. But I do need to see some of this addressed, if you would, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to address any of those concerns?
Brian Shirley with Harlan Consulting Engineering Services, 1136 South Park Drive. I do swear to tell the truth.
Thank you.
We're talking about the drainage coming across. As you all know, that we can't do any development that is going to increase the runoff on adjacent property. So anything we do will have to be contained on site. We have done a boundary survey when we do the septic evaluations. We'll probably also have a surveyor out there. And for the plot plans, we'll have to do a topography or topo with contours to show how we're going to be containing the water and not letting it go off at an increased rate.
So for the benefit of the neighbors, would it be fair to say that if retention basins are necessary, or whatever is necessary to keep water that falls on this property, you're prepared to take care of that, correct?
We have to do that by law anyway.
Have any questions?
I'd like to ask Mr. Perry to come back up here, and what we talked about, but the vinyl, would you be willing to, the front facades of these houses to be something other than vinyl?
As far as what other materials, something like
Well, you have in your report,
Brick
brick,
and-
stone, fiber, cement, board.
Okay. Okay, we'll agree to brick on the front.
Brick on the front.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
Mr. Thesson, mind coming back one more time?
We'll come back to the mic.
Make sure I understand what you said. Your present development plan condition says building materials shall be brick, stone, fiber, cement board, or vinyl. Am I correct that what you propose to do is just remove vinyl from that list?
Remove vinyl from the front,
I think he's only addressing the front facade, is that correct, sir?
Correct, and then still
And
could
and
have
the
vinyl
brick
on
foundation as
the
well.
sides and the back.
We'll leave that first sentence as is and simply say no vinyl on the front facade. And it shall be all brick.
Perhaps we should correct that. Are we leaving it open to brick, stone, or other masonry material on the front facade?
Well, the client had just agreed to brick.
Okay.
Balance, okay.
So, Mr. Thesson, is that your agreement on behalf of Mr. Cole? There you go.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioners have anything else to add, or is there anyone in the audience that has anything else to add? If not, then I'll ask for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the proposed zoning map amendment together with condition upon.
We need to first consider the Flume amendment,
Page before that.
which is on page 6 of 33.
Make a motion to approve the proposed future land use map amendment, docket number 2019-04 Flume, based upon the testimony and documents presented in this public hearing. The proposed Flume amendment has met the directive to amend the Flume as outlined in LU 1.1.4 in the comprehensive plan. Further, I request that this motion include the summary of evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at this public hearing.
Commissioner Vitale?
Ma'am.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Warren?
Ma'am.
Commissioner Madison? Commissioner Volkert? Commissioner Coppinger?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance?
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Houston?
Yes, ma'am. The motion has passed, and now we will have a motion for the zone change.
Make a motion to approve the proposed zoning map amendment together with condition upon the general development plan, docket number 2019-19Z County. Based upon the testimony and documents presented in this public hearing, the proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the adopted Focus 2030 comprehensive plan as demonstrated by its compliance with the objectives and action items presented in the staff report. Therefore, the proposed zoning map amendment is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Further, I request that this motion include the summary of evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at this public hearing.
Second.
Commissioner Vitale?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Warren?
Ma'am.
Commissioner Madison?
Ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert? Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Coppinger?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Houston?
Yes, ma'am. Both the Flume and the zone change has passed, and we'll send that on to the county. Next, we will have 2019-05 Flume. David and Leslie Whitty have filed an application for future land use amendment on a portion of a tract of land containing approximately 2.0006 acres located at 5530 Woodburn-Allen Springs Rd from agriculture to rural density. And along with that, we will have 2019-20Z County. David and Leslie Whitty filed an application to rezone a portion of tract of land containing 2.0006 acres located at 5530 Woodburn-Allen Springs Road from agriculture to rural residential with a general development plan. Ms.
Chair
Hunt.
Houston, we had a pre-application conference on March 28th for the portion of the property you see here, outlined in yellow, located on Woodburn-Allen Springs Road. As you mentioned, the property is currently zoned agriculture. You can see that the majority of the surrounding area is also zoned agriculture, and there are also some residential estate lots scattered around the area as well. The current use of the property is agriculture. The majority of the surrounding area is also agriculture, with some single-family residential lots also located in the vicinity. The future land use designation for the property is agriculture. This land use designation applies to those rural areas relatively remote from the expanding rural suburban fringe where agriculture uses are predominant with small and large-scale farm operations. This classification can also include undeveloped areas used for open space and large tract single-family residential property. The applicants are proposing to amend the future land use map to rural density residential. This land use designation applies to those rural areas relatively close to the suburban fringe. It also applies to areas where property fragmentation has occurred within unincorporated areas or near farming activities through provisions for exception lots in the ag zoning district or through rezoning and incremental subdivision of land as residential estate lots with gross densities ranging from 0 to 1 dwelling units per acre. LU 1.1.4 of the comprehensive plan outlines the procedures to amend the future land use map. And if the future land use map amendment is approved, the applicants are proposing to subdivide 2 acres off of the existing tract of land. You can see there's an existing residence on the larger tract as it exists today. And the proposal, if the Flume amendment is approved, would be to rezone this same area, 2 acres, for an additional single-family residential tract. To address the criteria to amend the future land use map, the applicants supplied a brief statement. It's listed in the middle page, page 2 there, and it states that the existing lot has over 274 feet of frontage on Woodburn-Allen Springs Rd and is just over 13 acres in size. The proposed addition of 1 new building lot of record of 2.0006 acres with 1 single-family house is clearly compatible with the surrounding lots on Woodburn-Allen Springs Road. Moving on to the site characteristics review, I'll touch on a few things in this section of the report. First of all, the proposed layout, which I just referenced here, is proposing to create 1 additional lot in the rural residential zoning classification, so any setbacks would adhere to that as outlined in the zoning ordinance. And then under water adequacy, staff has noted that the property is served by adequate water flow to meet the minimum fire protection requirements. And under prime farmland, we have noted that the property contains a soil type that is classified as prime farmland. On page 3, under the site design and compatibility review section, we've noted for the surrounding density that the majority of the area is comprised of large agricultural tracts. There are also a handful of 1+ acre tracts located in the vicinity. Surrounding architectural features, the surrounding area contains a mixture of residential and agricultural structures ranging from 1 to 2 stories in height. Home sizes range from 1,350 square feet to 5,000 square feet. Under building materials, staff has noted that the majority of the homes in the area are brick. There are a few homes constructed of vinyl and some homes that have incorporated vinyl and stone into trim or as an accent on a particular facade. And there are also a few barns constructed of wood and metal. At your seat, you should have a revised set of development plan conditions. And I actually think I gave away my copy, so give me 1 second here. So I'll go through the development plan conditions. Number 1 states that the proposed lot shall obtain a permit from the Barren River District Health Department for septic system approval prior to recordation of a plat. Number 2, no mobile or manufactured homes shall be permitted on the property. Number 3, and this was a change since the staff report was sent out, each residence shall have at least 2,200 square feet of heated and cooled living space, exclusive of garages and porches. Number 4, this is new since the staff report was sent out. Any residence must have at least a 2-car garage with a side-facing entry. Number 5, any residence must be constructed of 80% brick, stone, concrete-based siding, or other modern masonry materials, and no plain-faced block will be allowed. And number 6, the location of any proposed driveway shall be coordinated and approved by the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet prior to the application for a building permit. Moving on to the Focus 2030 category review, staff evaluated 10 items and noted that the proposal clearly complied with 3 of these, and that the compliance with the remaining 7 items should be determined by the Planning Commission, so I'll touch on those items. First, LU 111 and LU 112. The proposal may comply with the future land use map and with these items if deemed compatible with the surrounding area, the Flume Amendment to Rural Density Residential is approved, and if the Planning Commission determines that the proposal is compatible with the area and complies with LU 1.1.3. The proposal may comply with LU 2. The Planning Commission should determine if the proposal is a high-quality development that will protect the character of the area. The Planning Commission should also determine whether or not the proposed lot will result in an increased amount of development pressure on the countryside, and if it complies with NCR 241. And then last, we've noted that the proposal may comply with HN 2.1 and HN 4. The Planning Commission should determine if the proposed development is located in a suitable location and if it will enhance the array of housing options available in the area. Going to jump back to page 1 and just finish the staff report with our points to consider. If the future land use map amendment is approved, the proposal would be consistent with the future land use map and rural density residential category. The proposed development complies with the majority of the site characteristics review criteria, and the proposed development plan complies with the majority of the review criteria for site design and compatibility and meets the minimum requirements in the zoning ordinance. And I forgot to note at the beginning of the report, you also should have a letter that was submitted to our office from a nearby neighbor in the area, so that's just there for your reference as well. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know that the applicant's also here, so I think that's all I have.
Rachel, I have a question. On this, I know we're breaking off 2 acres out of 13. Are they going to come back with the other 11 and want to change the flume for that? Or why are we just changing this one little portion instead of the whole 13, I guess is my question. And what keeps them from coming back and piecemealing it every time we turn around?
Well, right now there's really only enough road frontage for one additional tract. So the only way that could be possible to be further subdivided is if the applicant wanted to construct a new road and then subdivide additional lots off of that. Okay. That would require another application, but the future land use map amendment is only requested for the 2 acres because that's the only portion that's proposed to be rezoned. The remaining portion of the land would remain zoned agriculture.
And can we go ahead and have Lucas come up and address the water issue? I see that he's back there.
Okay. I think Lucas came prepared. He sent this to us earlier.
Somewhat. Lucas Slavey, Van Meter and Slavey, 1015 Shive Lane.
To tell the truth.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We did look at the overall watershed here for this. I think there was a letter from an adjoining neighbor that had some concerns. And from what we established, their property is to the left of us here, which is just this little dab right there that could potentially run off our property toward them. And like Mr. Shirley said earlier, this lot would have a residential plot plan, site plan done that would be required to control any runoff in a rate as it is today.
Keep it contained to the lot we're talking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Or meter it off at no rate faster than what it goes right now. So, yes. That's the gist of it. I'd be glad to answer any other questions you have.
Just to be clear, as I read this letter, apparently this homeowner has an ongoing issue that, in your estimation, you can only, let me restate that, you can only address the water that's coming off of this particular plot. You're not necessarily stating that it fixes this other landowner's problem, but you can address the water on this particular lot, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct. We can only manage legally without their permission to be on their property, which we wouldn't commit to. But this is 0.34 acres that we have control over, that we can do something about that. But yes, you're correct. We can only control that.
Would it be fair to say, in theory, it helps the other lot a little bit?
It potentially could if our property owner, and it may not be Mr. Whitty, it may be someone else, but if they got back there and regraded and potentially they could potentially push it another way, or we could design it in such a way that it flows off even slower than what it does now. Yeah, those are certainly all options. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Slavey? Applicant have anything to add?
I'm willing to answer any questions that anyone may
let us swear you in, give us name and address, and
David Whitty, 561 Lakeside Lane, Bowling Green, Kentucky.
tell the truth.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Commissioners have any questions for? Anyone in the audience have any questions or concerns? Thank you. And
Welcome. Oh, I'm sorry.
okay, if you'll come up and let us swear you in and ask your questions.
My name is Lynn Marsh. I live in 5548 Woodburn-Allen Springs Road, 2 lots down. My wife is the one that wrote the letter.
And you swear to tell the truth?
Yeah, I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you.
Only thing we're worried about, we don't care about the house. We're just worried about the water doesn't get any worse than it does when it extreme rain, it flows under the next door neighbor's driveway. He has a culvert and through our backyard, and it gets pretty heavy. We just don't want it any worse than it is now.
Hopefully with what Lucas said
Yes.
earlier, I mean, by law, they have to make sure
Okay.
that it doesn't, so.
But we just wanted to make sure it
Understand.
wasn't gonna get worse.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Because it flows through our property and then goes to the next people's property.
Sure.
And when it pours, it's like a stream.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully what Lucas told you, hopefully
I
satisfies.
was, yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I'll give you my card if you need.
Oh, okay.
Need to reach out to us if you have any concerns after all this. We'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? If not, I will call from,
Yes, Mr. Whit.
yes, sir.
We don't have a signed set of development plan conditions, and so let me ask you about the.
Sure.
You changed your development plan conditions.
Yes.
In the last day or so, and you agreed to increase the square footage from 1,600 to 2,200 square feet.
That is correct.
You agreed that, to require the residents on this lot to have at least a 2-car garage with side entry.
Yes, sir.
And that you also, those are the only 2 changes, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
So you agree to those?
Yes, I do.
And you do so on behalf of your wife, Leslie?
Yes. I don't get to speak for her often, but I will tonight.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Now I will ask for a motion.
Make the motion to approve the proposed future land use map amendment docket number 2019-05 Flume based upon testimony and documents presented as public hearing. Proposed Flume amendment has met the directive to amend the Flume as outlined in LU 114 in the comprehensive plan. Further request, this motion includes summary of evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses' public hearing.
Commissioner Madison? Commissioner Warren?
Ma'am.
Commissioner Vogert? Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Coppinger? Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Balance?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale? Chair Houston?
Yes, ma'am. The Flume motion passed, so we will ask for a motion for the zone change.
Make a motion to approve the proposed zoning map amendment together with conditioned upon the general development plan docket number 2019-20 Z County. Based upon the testimony and documents presented in this public hearing, the proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the Focus 2030 comprehensive plan as demonstrated by its compliance with the objectives and action items presented in the staff report. Therefore, the proposed zoning map amendment is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Further, I request that the motion includes a summary of evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at this public hearing.
Second.
Commissioner Vitale?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance? Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Coppinger?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vogert?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Warren?
Ma'am.
Commissioner Madison?
Ma'am.
Chair Houston?
Yes, ma'am. Motion passed. We will send these forward to the county. Thank you. New business, we have an executive session, which I would say our executive director is going to direct that.
The executive session will be concerning potential litigation and/or legal action, and then a quick personnel matter. There is no expected action to be taken, but I think we do need a motion to go into the executive session.
Second. Commissioner Vitale? Commissioner Balance? Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Coppinger?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vokert? Commissioner Warren?
Ma'am.
Commissioner Madison? Commissioner Houston?
Ma'am.
The legal thing